John Cox, a Republican running for governor, has a radical plan to shake up politics in California. He's explaining it to everybody who will listen. Running on the slogan, "Clean out the barn," a pastoral-themed variation of President Donald Trump's "Drain the Swamp," Cox is the brain behind a proposed statewide initiative to dramatically reshape the Democratic-dominated state legislature. The idea, which he hopes to put on the November 2018 ballot, would create thousands of new elected officials by subdividing each Assembly and Senate district into 100 districts. California has the largest legislative districts in the world, Cox says of the need for his reforms. Under his plan, 99 lawmakers would stay home in the district and advise the 120 who would travel to the state capitol to cast votes. Sign up today for a free 30-day free trial of unlimited digital access. They are actually able to operate free of having people who don't like what they are doing run ads against them, because everybody will only represent a tiny little district. Cox acknowledges the tall order of taking on the entrenched political establishment from both major parties. It's not his first attempt. He has tried unsuccessfully to push a similar ballot measure since 2012. Cox recently submitted about 800,000 signatures. He needs 586,000 valid signatures to qualify, and expects to have an answer in a matter of weeks. How would it work? Currently, each of the Assembly's 80 members represents about 500,000 people, while the state Senate's 40 members each represent about 1 million people. Cox would carve each of those districts into 100 microdistricts. Neighborhood legislators, as Cox calls them, would then meet locally to select the 80 Assembly Working Group members and 40 Senate Working Group members that would represent them in Sacramento. Neighborhood representatives could remove their respective working committee members by a 2/3 vote. Cox predicts that campaigners would spend less time raising money from special interests, including labor unions and corporations, and that serving in the legislature would once again become an opportunity for public service rather than a job for career politicians. He argues that the result would be less corruption. What's to stop them from raising big money? Nothing. The initiative doesn't change campaign finance laws. But Cox thinks there would be backlash if a candidate for a neighborhood district accepted maximum donations. Guess what I would conclude in that case, he asks. That you're a crook. You're raising all of this money for what reason? In a tiny district of only 5,000 people, you don't need the money. You could go print up a couple flyers and go door to door and do just as well. Are you going to run TV ads in a district of only 5,000 people? What's his definition of corruption? It's not illegal corruption I'm talking about, Cox says. I am not trying to be overdramatic. I am trying to point out a system that is not illegally corrupt, it's just built for corruption of a legal sort, he adds. What else do you call it when people make these mammoth contributions not only to candidates but to independent expenditure committees, and they do it to influence legislation, positively or negatively? To me, I call that corruption. Other people may say it's undue influence, or it's influence peddling. I don't care what you call it, but it results in the fact that we don't get the best practices.